This is the perfect example of a movie made by fans for fans and not for critics. Five Nights at Freddy's is a brand new 2023 horror film directed by Emma Tammy, starring Josh Hutcherson and Matthew Lillard. And it is an adaptation of the popular gaming franchise Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, this movie has been in development since as early as 2015, which is a year after the original game first came out. So, yeah, there was a lot of anticipation for this movie among a lot of fans of the franchise. Me personally, I never played a single Five Nights at Freddy's game until just recently when all the trailers started coming out. I started to get a little bit more into the lore, played some of the games, watched some lore videos, read some online stuff about it. Now, it's not nearly as deep as Last of Us or Resident Evil, but it's still got some really interesting lore to it. So, yeah, let's go ahead and start this review off with the good. And right off the bat, I genuinely really like this movie. First of all, you got Josh Hutcherson in this movie, and he plays the main character, Mike Schmidt, who is also the name of the main character from the original Five Nights at Freddy's game. And I thought that he did a really great job. Josh Hutcherson is just a really great, underrated actor. I've loved him in just about every movie I've seen him in, and this movie's no exception. I thought he did a really great job as Mike. They do give him a little bit more of a character arc with some stuff that happened in his past. I thought that was interesting. Some of it might not have played well into the story, some might say, but I disagree. I thought that the backstory with his brother, that was a main driving point, and it really paid off in the third act. Then you got Matthew Lillard in this movie. First of all, Matthew Lillard, one of my favorite actors of all time. I'm not going to spoil exactly what type of role he plays, just in case there are people who didn't see the articles when he was first cast in this movie. But I will say Matthew Lillard is easily the best part about this movie. He's not in it a whole bunch. He shows up at the beginning, and he shows back up at the end of the movie. But it was really great seeing Matthew Lillard back in a horror role. And I'm really excited to see where they go with his character in the sequels, because apparently he's already signed a 3-picture deal. So we'll see what happens, but I really liked Matthew Lillard's performance here, easily the best part of the movie. And I really love the design of these animatronics. They did a top-tier job designing Freddy and his crew. Really great, and I believe none of it was CGI. I believe it was all puppetry. Really great attention to detail with these characters. The story, while it is different from the games, they do change a lot of stuff, but I feel like the changes that they made were still pretty good, and they made for an interesting story. I mean, there's not really much you can do for a movie with the original game, because the original game, you're just sitting in the office watching the cameras. That would make for kind of a boring movie, in my opinion. So I really like the idea of them spicing it up a little bit with the extra lore and the story with Mike's character. And I really love this scene that happens about halfway through the movie where some people break into Freddy's, and the animatronics come out and dispatch of them in admittedly very PG-13 ways, but that's another thing. The PG-13 rating, a lot of people are complaining about it, saying, oh, this movie should have been rated R. I'm like, for why? Because the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise has always been geared more towards middle schoolers and high schoolers, younger audiences. So I feel like the PG-13 rating for this movie is perfect. It fits. I think it's a really good entry into the horror genre for younger audiences. I'd show my kid other entryway movies first, but this would be on a list of entry horror films that I'd show a kid. But yeah, I really liked the PG-13 rating. I thought it worked well. And for the PG-13 rating, we do get some pretty good kills, especially that halfway point where the people break in. And yeah, I just really enjoyed the story here. The score was really good. And that's about all for the good. On to the bad. And there's a couple things in this movie. First, there's a certain character in this movie who's supposed to be Josh Hutcherson's aunt. I do not like that character at all. Um, no hate to the actress, but that character can completely go. She was completely unlikable. She was actively unbearable. And I just don't like characters like that don't even get some sort of redemption or try to get something. Yeah, didn't like that character. Also, spoiler alert, I guess, but this movie doesn't have Phone Guy. And a big highlight of the Five Nights at Freddy's games for me is the phone calls at the beginning of the nights. So, yeah, that just brings it down a little bit for me. I miss Phone Guy. Bring back Phone Guy. Hashtag justice for Phone Guy. But, yeah, that's about all for the bad. On some final thoughts. I really enjoyed Five Nights at Freddy's, much more than I was expecting to. I had a lot of fun with it. It's a good entryway into the horror genre for younger audiences. Five Nights at Freddy's, for me, is just fun. It's a pretty solid adaptation of the games. I can't wait for the sequels, and I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. So that was my thoughts on Five Nights at Freddy's. Have you seen this movie yet? What do you think about it? If you have seen it, let me know down in the comments. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.